So today's Daf Yomi is Kiddushin Daf Yud Beis, and we're going to start on 12a at the first wide line. Beis Hillel Omrim Bepruta. Beis Shammai said that a man is Mekadesh a woman with a dinar, and Beis Hillel says it's only with a pruta. Sal Rav Yosef Umeimar Pruta Koldahu. Rav Yosef thought to say that a pruta was any amount. It was not a large amount. It was just any amount in whatever society you're living in. It's the smallest amount. So Amrullah Abaye V'ala Katani, but didn't we have a specific amount for it? Don't we say Kama Hi Pruta Echad Mishmona Be'Isar Italki? Don't we say how much is a pruta? It's 1/8 of an Italian Isar. V'chitema Hani Mili B'Dorish Moshe. And if you're going to say, well, that's in Moshe's generation. V'hacha Kedechash V'Lula Inchi. But now it's whatever people think is the smallest amount. V'haki also Rav Dimi Amar Shir Rav Simai Bedoro Kama Hi Pruta Echad Mishmona Be'Isar Italki. That didn't Rav Simai establish in his generation how much is a pruta? 1/8 of an Italian Isar. V'chiyasa Rabin Amar Rabbi Dustaiv Rabbi Yanai Rabbi Oshia. That Rabbi Dustai said Rabbi Yanai Rabbi Oshia that Shiro Kamiyav Pruta. How much is it? Echamishisha Isar Italki. That it's 1/6. So one says it's 1/8 of an Italian Isar, and one says 1/6. So why are you saying? How can you possibly say Rabbi Yosef that it's koldahu? So the Gemara that it's any amount. So Amrullah Rabbi Yosef. If that's the case, if you're saying it's a specific amount, Hainu de Tanina, that which we learned in the Brisa, Tseva Chashav Kama Prutos B'Shnei Salayim, Yoser Mi Alpayim, that go and calculate how many prutos there are in 2 Salayim. There are more than 2,000. And Rashi tells us that what is this referring to? Rashi says this is a Mishnah. Mishnah Zu Sheshinuya Eitzel Nana Min Hektish. That this Rashi says that this is a Mishnah, even though it seems to be that it's a Brisa. Rashi says it's a Mishnah that was derived, it was taught about somebody who benefits from temple property, that he brings for the benefit that he does, in addition to paying back the value plus 1/5, he has to bring a carbon asha me'ila, which is a value of 2 selah. And so we see from here how the Mishnah is saying how far you have to go away from a sin, that even though somebody who sins accidentally, for just a proof that even if he just sins accidentally, he just has a little benefit, he has to bring a carbon that's worth more than 2,000 prutos. Now, hashta alpayan lohavia, but according to you, it's not even 2,000 prutos according to your calculation. Yes or may alpayan? Yes or may alpayan, Carl? Are we going to say it's more than 2,000? And the Gemara is going to calculate why we say it's not even 2,000. So for sure it's not more than 2,000. That's what Rav Yosef is saying. So Amar Lahu Saba Ana Tanina, I learned Karval Payim. I learned that it's close to 2,000. Meaning to say Rav Yosef is saying a pruta is any amount, and so therefore we're going to say it can't be that specific amount. But it's so we're saying the Gemara's response is that no, it's just close to 2,000. How much is it? Alpha v'chamesh me'at utlasim v'shita. It's 1,536 udag, and that's how much it is. So the Gemara says, what do you mean that? So why are we calling that close to? It's only 1,536. The Gemara says, well, kivin denafka umipalga karv payim karli. Since it's no longer 500, it's more than half of it. Therefore, we're going to say we call it closer to 2,000. Once it goes beyond, well, really half, meaning say once it's more than 51%, then we're going to call more than 50%, we're going to call it 2,000. Anyway, so the way we have to understand the mahalach of this Gemara is that Rav Yosef said, let's just review it. Rav Yosef says a pruta is any amount. The Gemara says it can't be any amount because Gemara said it can't be any amount because we have in our mission it's 1/8 of an Italian coin, and so the Gemara then says, and if you want to say that's the pruta only in the time of Moshe, that's 1/8 of Italian coin. But we learned that Rabbi Dustai and Rabbi Yanai said, and Rabbi Oshaya, that what's a pruta? It's either 1/6 or 1/8. So Rav Yosef said, well, how if that's the case that it's a specific amount, then how do you deal with the fact that Brisa says specifically, where Rashi calls it a Mishnah, that a Sela is more than or is close to 2,000 pruta. So it must be that the pruta is not the specific pruta that they're talking about, but it's any amount. And that's what Rabbi Yosef is saying. That's how we have to understand the Gemara. So therefore, hold on one second. So therefore, the Gemara says, let's go back and look at this statement from this brisa. Or actually, let's go back and look at the statement of the Amoraim. Gufa kiyasa Rav Dimi Amar Shira Rabbi Simai Bedoro Kamu Hi Pruta Echa Mishmon B'Yisrael Talki. That Rabbi Simai says, what is? He said that Rabbi Simai says that a pruta is 1/8 of an Italian coin. V'chiyasa Rav Amar Shira Rav Dos Dive Rabbi Yonai Rabbi Oshaya Kami Pruta Echa Mishisha B'Yisrael Talki. That it's 1/6. And Amarle Abaye Rav Dimi Nema At the Rabbin bepukta dahani tanai kamiflagay. So, well, first of all, I skipped a very important Rashi where Rashi explains how we say that this Sela reaches that these two slime is equal to 1,536 prutos, and Rashi calculates it because the Sela is 4 dinarin, and a dinar is 24 isarim. And each Isser has 8 prutos, and so therefore there are 192 prutos in a dinar. And the 8 dinars, and there are 8 dinars in 2 silayim, and therefore it comes to a conclusion that it is, and each one is 200 prutos minus 8, and so therefore we get this amount of 1,536. So now we go back to the statement that we were discussing. Is a pruta, is an iser, is a pruta 1/6 of an iser or 1/8 of an iser? It's a very technical discussion here. So the Rabbi Simai said it was 1/8, and Rabin said in the name of Rabbi Dustav, Rabbi Yona, Rabbi Yana, and Rabbi Oshaya, Kami pruta echamishisha be'isar etaki. That's 1/6. So Amar Abaye Rav Dima name At the Rabbin pukta dahani tonight. So these two Amoraim, that Rav Dimi and Rabban, are they just having the same dispute as an earlier generation of Tanaim? Why would they have the same dispute? Why would they say it's their dispute? They should have just attributed to the Tanaim. The Tanya didn't we learn? The Pruta Shamru Chachamim Echa Mishmona Beisar Talki. The Brisa says, what is the Pruta that Chachamim discussed? 1/8 of the Italian coin. Sheish Mea Kesef. So, and how do we get to 1/8? Sheish Mea Kesef dinar. There are 6 meyas of kesef in a dinar, and meya is shnei pidyon, and each meya is 2 coins which are pidyonim, and each pidyon is shnei isarin, and each isar is shnei mus mesim, and each mus mes is shnei kontrikon, and each kontrikon is shnei prutos. Nimtza pruta achas mishmona b'isar Italki. So if you calculate it all out, you have each pruta is 1/8 of an Italian coin, whereas Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says shlosha drasin l'meya, that each meya has 3 hadrasin, and shnei hansin lahadras, and each hadras is 2 hansin, and shnei shminin lahaneitz, and there are 2 shminin in a neitz, and there are shtei prutos l'shamin, and there are 2 prutos in a shamin. Ninsa pruta achas mishisha v'isar Italki. So each pruta is 1/6 of an Italian coin. So why would Rav Dimi and Ravin just repeat the dispute that was earlier a dispute between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel? So the Gemara's answer is, the Gemara says, Lema Damar Kama, the Ravin Damar Ravin Shimon Gamliel. Do you want to say that Rav Dimi holds like Tana Kama, it's 1/8, and Ravin holds like Shimon Gamliel that it's 1/6? The Gemara says, no, we don't need to say that. Amar way, Rav Dimi who says Rav Dimi who says that it's 1/8, he says actually Bein Didi Bein Ravin Aliba de Tanakama. Not only do I say like Tanakama, but even Ravin says like the Tanakama. Well, Kasha Had the Yukar Isuri Had is all Isuri. The currency of the Isur sometimes went up and sometimes went down. Sometimes it was 1/8, sometimes 1/6. We had currency fluctuations. So And had is always Isuri, and had Ikar Isuri. If it was where the Isurim went up, Esrim Arba Bezuza, then there would be 24 Isurim to a Zuz, and each Zuz would really be, each dinar would take 3 dinarim to make one Zuz. And Hadazol, and when they went down, we're going to say Kum Tlasin who train Bezuz. That would be 22 or 32 Isurim for a Zuz. And there would be each Zuz would be made up of 3 dinarim. So it's either 24 or 32. Okay, so now the Gemara says, let's go back to the more conceptual question, less technical about the currency of those generations. Amr Shmuel says, Kitsha betamra, let's say you betrothed her with a date, afilu omed kur tamarim bedinar, even if you could get an entire bushel of dates for just a simple dinar, mikudashes. We're still going to say it's a valid betrothal. Why? Chashinan shava pruta b'madai. Even if the dates over here are not worth anything, maybe the dates in Madai, where Rashi says in Madai they'll buy anything for a lot of money because the dates there are not found. So therefore, you pay more for the dates. So even though the dates here aren't worth a pruta, in Madai they are. So maybe it's a valid marriage. So the Gemara says, so, but why are we saying that? Didn't we learn in the mission that Beisil says it needs to be a pruta or a shava pruta? And if it's less than that, it's not good, even though somewhere else it might possibly be worth that. Mar says, no. No, it's not difficult. When Beisil says it has to be a pruta, that's to say it's a certain betrothal. And when we say that, we're concerned, even if it's less than a pruta, because it might be worth somewhere else, that's to say that it's a doubtful kedusha, it's an ambiguous kedusha. We have to have the stringency of perhaps she's married. And there was a Gavra, the Ikdish Ba'avna Dukucha. There was a person. No, I skipped a line. Hahu Gavra, the Ikdish Bezavda Davardi. There was a man who betrothed the woman with like the stuffing of like a pillow or a blanket. Yasser Rav Shimi Barchia kamed to Rav v'kam Ba. So Rav Shimi Barchia was sitting there in front of Rav and he was trying to figure out if it was worth a Shava Pruta. Isba Shava Pruta in Ilo. He said, well, if it has a Pruta, it's valid. Otherwise, it's not a valid marriage. So the Gemara says, but why do we have to be concerned about it? Why do we have to test it to see if it's worth a penny? Amar Shmuel Chashinan. Didn't Shmuel say, well, we have this concern regardless? Where it says, no. No, we want to know if it's a pruta to say it's a certain betrothal, or if it's not a pruta to say it's an ambiguous betrothal. There was a person who betrothed a woman with a stone of a kucho. Rashi says that this is black marble. It's similar to blue. It's black marble. Yasser Rav Chisda become a shayro. He is of a pruta in the low. So Rav Chisda was trying to figure out if it was worth a pruta or not. The Gemara says, but why? Amar Shmuel Chashina. Didn't Shmuel say we always have to be concerned? The Gemara says Rav Chisda was Savarway to Shmuel. Rav Chisda didn't agree with Shmuel. Amarle Ime, but so the mother of that girl said, Yoma Dekacha have Beishav pruta. But that day, that black marble was going for a lot of money. That day was worth a pruta. So the Gemara says no. That Rav Chisda said, Amarle Lav Kol Kaminach the Asra Abasra. He said, no, you don't have the power to say that the second one is prohibited. We're not going to believe you that it was betrothed, that she was betrothed that day based upon your testimony. It's not sufficient. We're on the top of your Beis, I'm a Beis. Gemara says, because Rav Chisda says, Lav Hainu the Yehudist Beisod Rebbe Chia, isn't this the exact same case of Yehudist, the wife of Rebbe Chia, Davioi Tsar Eda? She was having trouble giving birth. She was in pain, and she didn't want to become pregnant again. She wanted to get out of the marriage for the future. So Amrulay, so she said to the man, her husband, Amruli aim, that my mother once told me, Kibo bechavuch kidusha ki zitart. My father had accepted from me a marriage when I was younger to somebody else. And Rav Chisda had said, Amrullah, that we said to her then, that Rebbe Chia said to her, that Rebbe Chia, she told her husband Rebbe Chia, I'm not married to you anymore. Rebbe Chia said, no, sorry, I'm not going to believe you. He said, your mother doesn't have the ability to come up right now and prohibit you upon me. So therefore, Rav Chisda said it's the same case as Rebbe Chia, as Rav Chia. So as Rabbi Chia. So the Gemara then says, Amar Rabbanu Rav Chisda. So the Rabbanan said to Rav Chisda, but why are you saying that we don't believe this woman's testimony now? Ha'ika sahadi beidis diyadi devahu yoma hava beishav pruta. Why don't you believe her mother's testimony that that day it was worth more? But we know that there are witnesses in Edis that on that day it was worth a shava pruta. So Rav Chisda responds, yeah, hashtamia lo leisnu, come on. These witnesses are not here. Isn't this the same case Rabbi Chanina talked about? The witnesses are in the north, and you want to prohibit it over here? Let's have the witnesses over here. What's this case of Rabbi Chanina? Well, this we remember from the case of the daughters of Shmuel in Ksubos 23a. Remember this on the bottom of the on 23a. We had this case that Shmuel's daughters came into the base medrash of Rabbi Chanina, and they said, we were captured, but we weren't assaulted. And so therefore, Rabbi Chanina said, you can marry a Kohen. And they said to Rabbi Chanina, the people there said, but there are witnesses overseas that saw she was captured. And if there are witnesses that a woman's captured, she's not believed to say that she was captured and not assaulted, because there are witnesses to testify it. So Rabbi Chanina responded, but there are no witnesses here right now. So therefore, we're not going to believe her. So there Rabbi Chanina was being lenient, but here Rav Chisda is using the same logic to be strict upon these women. So Abai and Rabbi was through Rav Chisda. So therefore, Abai and Rabbi, they didn't agree with Rav Chisda. They said, okay, Rabbi Chanina was lenient by the captive women because captive women are going to make themselves unattractive, so the captives aren't interested in them. Neko be'ishes ish. Are we going to be lenient for a married woman and to believe her mother when she says that there were witnesses that it was worth that value overseas at that time, and so therefore she was married to the first man? We're not going to adopt the same approach. It's a different scenario. So there were some remnants of that family in Surah. Rabbanan didn't want to allow people to marry into that family because they said she tried to say that she was married already, and so therefore Rav Chisda allowed them to marry, but their mother had claimed that they were already married to somebody else. So then there was some family that remained there, and the Rabbanan didn't want to rely upon Rav Chisda, so nobody was marrying them. Not because they agreed with Shmuel, who says that we have to be concerned that maybe it was betrothed in another place. That's not the reason. The reason was Mishum Desfiru Kabai Rava. They were concerned for Abai and Rava, who said that there was rumors that there were witnesses that it was worth a pruta on that day at the time of marriage. So they don't really, in general, feel like that Shmuel is correct, that we always have to be concerned it's worth something somewhere else. But there was a call in this case. There was rumors in this place, and we already saw from the end of Masechet Gittin that we give credence to very serious substantive rumors. There was a person who tried to betroth a woman with a bundle of myrtles that were not worth a penny. They were worth nothing. And he did this beshuka, and he did this in the marketplace. So Shalcha Rav Acha Bar Huna Kamei to Rav Yosef Ki Agav Namai. So he says, what's the halacha in this case? Shalcha Nagde Karav. He says, give him lashes like Rav. Ve'itzrach Gita Kishmol. So we're going to give him lashes. But nevertheless, we have to be concerned that maybe it was worth a penny somewhere else, like Shmuel. The Rav Mangid al the Mekadesh Beshuka. Rav would give somebody lashes if they made a betrothal in the marketplace. Rav would give somebody lashes under those circumstances because it was priesthood. It's not the way, even though it was permitted, it's not the way of the Jews to just marry somebody in the marketplace. It's not what we do. And also, al the Mekadesh Bebia. Rav would also give lashes to somebody who betrothed through Bia. That's not the way of the Jews. Al the Mekadesh below Shiduche. And also, Rav would give somebody lashes if they betrothed without first doing Shiduchen. Al the Mevatel Gita, or if a person would try to annul a get. What does that mean? Rashi says that this is the case we learned from Gittin. Somebody sends a divorce to his wife, and then before he sends it through an agent, and then he runs up to the agent and tries to nullify the get. So because all sorts of problems could occur, that maybe the agent would have gotten to the wife beforehand, or people wouldn't know, and all sorts of problems could occur. And also, or if a husband comes along and tries to challenge the authenticity of the get and says he did it under duress, so Rav would give lashes to all these people. Or if somebody gave a hard time to an agent of the rabbis. And somebody had excommunicated for 30 days. All these cases, rabbi give them lashes. And a son-in-law who lives in the same house as his mother-in-law would give him lashes because we're concerned that maybe he'll sin with her. It's not talking about the scenarios today where everybody has their own separate bedroom and they all used to live in one room there, and so therefore it was inappropriate. So the Gemara says the dyer in cholafo, that if he lives there, it's a problem, but if he just passes through, it's okay. Va'u chasna the cholaf hababa the bechamua. There was once a son-in-law. He passed through his father-in-law's house. For Nagdi Rav Sheshes gave him lashes. Gemara says, that was a unique case. Who made him aves the yame chamase mine. No, he says that case was different. Why? Because his mother-in-law, it was known that his mother-in-law was suspected of having desires for him. So the Gemara says, Nardai Amri Bekulu Magid. In Nardai, they said that we don't give lashes for all these things of Rav. Ella al the Mekadesh Bebia below Shidduchi, except if you betrothed the woman with Bia without first going through the Shidduchim, without first arranging it. That even if there were Shidduchim, Mishum Pertusa, that it's lewd to betroth a woman just through Bia, and therefore they would give lashes for it. So we see here a fundamental idea, even though the Torah specifically allows a kesef shtaro bia, the rabbis came along and say this is not appropriate, and if you're going to do something that the Torah says is okay, we're going to give you lashes. This is explicit, even though by Yibum, we also have this specific idea that you're not supposed to do Yibum today, but there's a chalitza that you could do it. But here we say specifically, if somebody betroths a woman, you're doing a mitzvah from the Torah, which is to betroth a woman. But if you do it in this manner, which the Torah specifically allows, the rabbis said that we give you lashes. Who gavra the kaddish but sifta da asa? There was a man who betrothed a woman with a sifta da asa, which is a mat of hadassim, a mat of myrtles. So Amrulay, so they said to this man, how could you betroth her? It's not worth anything. It's not even worth a penny. Amrulay, he said to them, Tiktosh ba'arba zuze de ispa. Yeah, but there's 4 zuzim that are inside of it, inside the mat, and that's what she's being betrothed with. Shakalta v'eshtika. So he took it and she was silent. He gave it to her. She took it and she was silent, meaning to say she didn't necessarily know when she took it that there were the 4 zuzim in it. So now she finds out afterwards. So is it a valid betrothal? So well, excuse me, her silence was after he already gave her the money. When any silence after the giving of the money is nothing. And Amarava Minam, Rava says, how am I going to be able to know this? I'll give you another example that if after you took something, you found that there was money in it, when you took it, it doesn't prove that you knew that there was money there, so it's not, you have to re-give it. And the reason is the Tanya we learned in the Brisa, Amrullah Kinsi Sel Azuba Bikadar. A man says to a woman, take this coin as a deposit. V'chazav Amrullah his kachli bo. He says afterwards, he says to her, I want you to become betrothed with this coin. Now, if he said this, Peshas Matamos Mikudesh, if he said this to her at the moment that he gave her the money, then she'd be betrothed. But if he said it to her after he gave her the money, Ratzta Mikudesh, so Ratzta Ain't Mikudesh. If he wanted to betroth her, if she wants to, it's betrothed. If she doesn't want to, it's not. And the Gemara says, my Ratzta, my lo Ratzta. What does it mean if she wants or if she doesn't want? Ilim Ratzta da Amra in lo Ratzta da Amra. If you want to say it means that when it says she wants, it means she said yes, or which didn't want it, she said no. Mikal the Reisha. You know what? We're going to go. This goes on for a while, so actually we're going to stop today's daf here. And let me just tell you the schedule. God willing, the schedule is tomorrow morning. We're going to do it at 7 a.m. and then Friday, even though we usually do it at 12 on Friday, we're going to do it, God willing, at 11:15 a.m. this Friday. A big shkoyach to everybody. A big shkoyach on today's daf yomi.